Wander Wealthy Podcast, episode 185. Oh, hello. Welcome back. My name is Tess. I am your host of the Wander Wealthy Podcast, founder of Wander Wealthy, and business coach for all of you bright, shining money coaches out there in the world. Whether you are brand new, you're aspiring, you haven't even gotten your feet off on the ground, or you've been building your money coaching business for some time now, this is the place for you. This is, I think, maybe one of the only podcasts dedicated to helping coaches build their business when it comes to anything of revolving around money, whether you're working with individuals or businesses, helping them price or helping them manage their money, or even helping with mindset. This is the place to get the answers that you're looking for, get the help that you're looking for when it comes to building that kind of a business. So today we have an exciting podcast episode. I'm going to be walking you through the 5 hacks to get paying clients using social media. So this is going to be perfect for you no matter what stage of business you're in. If you've been getting clients in a different way and you're really looking to ramp up getting clients through social media without paying for ads or without going viral, then this is maybe you will go viral in the meantime, but virality doesn't usually mean income. So this is obviously going to be the more direct route to getting paying clients. And by this point, you probably know that I am all about direct, predictable results. And that's because I spent years of my business building journey trying to do all the things that didn't directly link to, I could go out today and get a paying client today. I was always doing things that felt like they took a very long time. And although I have nothing against those things, and when I talk about those things, I'm talking about building an email list, starting a blog or starting a podcast, creating some low-level courses, hoping that people will stumble upon them, or creating these really complex email funnels and freebies that then trip people into the funnel. Honestly, I have nothing against that. I think that those things can be fun to explore. They can be effective over time, but they're not the most effective way to get paying clients, especially when you're starting out or you haven't reached the level in your business where you really feel like, yes, I can predictably get clients now. And if you haven't gotten to that point, then spending your time and your money on learning how to build those things and then ultimately doing it can take a lot of your time and not create the monetary results that you probably were originally hoping for when you first started them. So I speak from experience. I see this happen so often. I know that there are a lot of business coaches out there that are selling these means to getting paying clients. And then I end up talking to so many money coaches when I'm going through the enrollment period of the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, which is my business building program, hearing about their frustration of having started to work with a business coach and them, having them do all these things and then not seeing the results. And I love doing my podcast as an example. I love doing this. And now that I've built the traction, I do have clients come in through my podcast, but that is after I decided to strip down my business, simplify it, and really build my business through a much more effective way of getting paying clients. Because doing a podcast is fun and all, but when you're not making any money, then you kind of get to the point where you're asking yourself, what's the point? So all of that to say, I want to share with you effective ways to get paying clients. And in this case, it's using social media. I'm going to share the 5 hacks that if you can understand these and then implement them, you're going to get a paying client. And when you do, I want you to send me a message on Instagram at Tess_Wicks because I want to celebrate with you. I might even buy you a drink, probably a Starbucks gift card, but hey, you can get lots of different things there. So seriously do that. I will invite you to do that. And if you need any help, because now you are going to know after you listen to this episode all about how to get your paying clients from social media. If you need help with okay, this is working, but I need to price my coaching package and sell it, then I got your back, because the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook is exactly what I built for when I was in that position, and I built it specifically for you now that you're going to be in that position. So the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook is a 35 plus page workbook that's going to help you understand the pricing mindset, understanding how to think about pricing, but also how other people think about pricing, understanding what your goals are. Obviously, your prices ultimately help you reach your income goals, so understand how that all fits together so you can truly price with purpose. And then ultimately, understand so many other aspects of your business, including some of my best sales tips. I also put that in the workbook, because if you're going to price your services, you're going to have to sell it, right? So you can get it all for the low price of $27. It is a workbook, but it also is essentially an online course that I put into the form of a digital download. And it's exactly what I wish I would have had when I started out. And so many people absolutely love it. And I always refer to it when I take my students through the Wealthy Coach Blueprint and we get to the pricing question. So head to wanderwealthy.com/workbook to get your hands on it. It is the best way to start working on your business, especially if you've been hearing me talk about the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, which is my program where I take money coaches through to help build their very strong foundation of a business, their life-changing coaching program, find their ideal clients, and make more money in 90 days. And that is currently in progress with our new round of students, and enrollment is not opening until the end of this year. So if you want to get started already, get the workbook, and then we can talk about the blueprint in the future. All right, so let's dive into this week's episode, the 5 hacks to getting paying clients using social media. And some of these will be new, and some of these will be not a surprise. And it's because these things are so vital to building a strong business, let alone getting coaching clients on social media, that they're so important to implement. So the first thing is something that you've heard me reiterate time and time again, and that is to know your ideal client so specifically, be able to specifically identify them, be able to help them specifically identify themselves in your content, in your profile, in the way that you talk and the way that you speak about your program and just who you work with, right? There needs to be this really magical connection between the two of you. And I know that sounds probably a little woo-woo, but it's not. It's scientific. If you can identify who it is that you work with to a much more specific level than being a little bit too esoteric or a little bit too generic, you're going to have such a bigger impact, especially when you're showing up on social media and you're talking about them. You're talking about your solution. You're talking about their problems. You're talking about their goals. They're going to be like, how does she know me? That's how you know them, because you actually know them. So this is something that I will always repeat because it is worth repeating. Find your specific ideal client and immerse yourself in their lives. Research them until you cannot research anymore. I mean, you should always be researching them and identifying, what do they struggle with? What are their pain points? What are their biggest fears? What are the goals that they have? What are their dreams? What would they like to do? But what are they afraid of happening if they do pursue that? And what are they afraid of happening if they don't pursue that? Really get into their lives and understand what makes them tick. If you know them, then you can move on to the second hack, which is obviously creating content. But so many of us make the mistake of creating content based on what we think we, should create that day. We wake up and we go, what am I doing? Okay, maybe I'll create content about my daily schedule, or maybe I'll create content about something I read that I found really interesting, or maybe I'll create content about the smoothie that I'm making. And although that's nice, that is not what your clients need to be hearing today, right? How does the smoothie that you're making help your clients with their money problems? And I know you might be able to draw a line to it, but instead, what if you woke up every day, or maybe you do this once a week and you plan out your content and you go, what does my ideal client need to hear from me today? How can I tap into what they're currently waking up afraid of happening at the end of today? Or what are they really frustrated about? Or what is confusing them beyond belief? And then I'm going to show up, I'm going to post something on social media, and it's going to be the answer to their prayers, or it's going to be as if I heard the thoughts in their head when they were brushing their teeth this morning. So if you can change the way that you create content, you're going to change so much of how you show up on social media, and ultimately how you then attract those clients, right? If you know them basically better than they know themselves, then you're naturally going to be able to create content that answers the thoughts in their heads, or taps into their biggest fears, or paints the picture of their vision, their dream, what they would like to happen. So create content based on what they need to hear that day, not what you feel like posting or what is convenient for posting. And so a little kind of side hack there is really to, after you've immersed yourself in their lives, which you can do on a pretty much a daily basis, join Facebook groups or online forums, or read the same books that they read, or interview them, ask them questions. And once you identify what frustrates them, what confuses them, what pain points do they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, what are they afraid of happening, you can jot those down and start to plan out your content. And that way, you don't have to wake up and think, what do I want to talk about today? You can wake up and know, today I have to talk about this. So in the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, we have a very specific approach to this. It is very creative driven, but it's also strategic, right? Because as much as we want to be creative at heart and just talk about, what we feel is on our heart that day, we also have to be strategic because we're running a business. We're not Instagram influencers. We are business owners. We are entrepreneurs. We are coaches. So the content that we create has to still be strategically driven to make sure that we're tapping into what our ideal clients need to hear. So I like to create my content one time a week or 1 to 2 times a week. I'll actually plan out the entire month in advance, just in terms of topics, and then I'll actually write the content in the week that I want to put it up, usually on Monday or maybe the Friday before. And so no longer do I have to sit down at my desk and think, what am I going to talk about today? It flows out of me because typically I'm batching it ahead of time and taking care of it. And that is something that I cannot recommend enough, especially if you find yourself switching between creation and strategy quite a bit, is to just batch a lot of that work. So you can be strategic about the planning, and then you can be creative around the creation point, get into the flow of actually writing the content. And you can schedule those at different points, but you can do it so that it is strategic, so that you don't have to wake up and think about, what that new idea that you have to create from scratch is going to be today. So that's a little side tip for you. The third hack is to create a sanctuary for your clients on your platform. So whether you're using Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, TikTok maybe, I will be honest, I've not dabbled in TikTok, but I'm sure there's a way that you could do this. But a lot of these platforms have a way for you to create a brand, even though they really take on kind of the brand of the platform. You can still create this space that is like a sanctuary for your ideal clients. So what you want to do in that case is almost treat this platform as if it were your website. And when you do that, then you don't even have to have a website, but that's for another time. So on the platform, you want to be able to have a place where you can store your story, share your story and store it there. So on Instagram, for instance, that's probably going to be in your highlights. On Facebook, that might be in one of your like top, I think you can do like top 9 photos, and maybe you even just do top 4 or something, but that would be one of those. On LinkedIn, I think they have a place where you can tell your story, so that's a perfect place to put that. You can also, on these platforms, you can share testimonials, again, in very much the same places. But a lot of these platforms, when you take the time to really get to know them and understand how they function, then you can identify the spots where you can put your story, you can share testimonials, you can share helpful and informative content, right? With Instagram, it can be through your stories as well as on your feed. On Facebook, same thing. I mean, Facebook and Instagram are kind of evolving into each other, but they have a little bit of a different way about them. And on LinkedIn, it's going to primarily be in posts, and I think you can live stream now on LinkedIn too. But then you also need to talk about your offer, which we're going to get to in a second. But when you really focus on taking this platform and then making it into the kind of this daily safe haven for your ideal client to go to, right? If you're talking about the problems that your ideal client faces and you've so specifically identified who they are, so now you can so specifically tap into the problems that they are facing on a day-to-day basis, and you can provide a solution, or you can just let them know like, hey, you're not alone. This is normal. This happens. You can really provide this feeling and this safe haven and this sanctuary of letting them know that they have a place to go. And then they're naturally, what happens when you do this is you become a habit. You become a ritual in their day. They don't feel complete without going and seeing, did I miss anything? Did she say any good golden nuggets today? Is there something that really resonates with me today? And that's such a magical thing once you've kind of really tapped into who your client is and what they're struggling with and what they really want out of their life. You can truly show up in your platform of choice and create a sanctuary for them, create a safe haven, create a space where they feel welcome and they feel seen, heard, and understood. So the fourth hack is probably not that surprising, but I think it's hard for a lot of people. It's about developing real relationships through interacting and engaging with your ideal clients. Now, there's a lot of resistance around this because people, I think, have a fear of A, rejection, and B, of coming off as phony, or the word that I hate the most, salesy. But honestly, if you truly tap into really wanting to know your ideal clients on a deeper level, then it's natural to develop a relationship with them. We just have to drop the idea that social media is only used for selling, right? Yes, the end goal for you is to get paying clients, but it's also to understand who you want to work with and who you help on a regular basis. It's also to make sure that these are people you actually want to be working with too. This is a reciprocal relationship. It needs to feed off of each other. So really going, out on a limb and being willing to develop real relationships with your ideal clients by, first engaging with their profile and answering their questions and interacting with them and getting to know them. You do not have to propose marriage to them right away, right? A lot of people like to compare the sales process to the evolution of a traditional, in quotes, relationship that goes from getting to know each other, to ask them out on a date, to then becoming, serious and getting into a relationship, to then proposing, to then being married. And if the process of getting a client works somewhat the same, although usually and hopefully in a little bit less time, there's still points where it's inappropriate to have certain conversations. And so if you're worried about coming off as salesy or phony, it's because you're already thinking, I have to get this person as a client, instead of thinking, I just genuinely want to get to know this person a little bit more and see if, maybe they might eventually become a great client and we can potentially work together. And if not, no harm done. It's just great to get to know another person. And if my content can help them in any way, I'm happy about that. And I can feel good about showing up in their space and engaging with them and letting them know that I'm here to help. It doesn't have to go any further than that if it doesn't want to. So we oftentimes get very much in our head when it comes to developing real relationships with our ideal clients. But that is ultimately how they start to find out about you. And then all of a sudden see, oh, they have something that I might want or that I need. And that's where we get to the 5th hack, which is to talk about your offer. My friend, I say this with so much love in my heart because I made this mistake so often. And I remember asking another money coach one time, I was like, how are you all of a sudden getting so many clients? And she laughed and she goes, I just started talking about the fact that I had a coaching program. I started selling more. But when she said selling more, she was basically talking about her offer and asking people if they were interested. And I think that's so funny because we so often just don't talk about it, that for whatever reason, we think if we talk about it, we're going to come off as salesy, or if we talk about it, we're going to be off-putting. But if you don't talk about it, nobody's going to know about it. And at the root of what you have to offer is the fact that you have something that can quite literally change someone's life. But they never are going to know about it if you don't talk about it. So along the lines of creating a sanctuary on your platform, creating this space, safe space, creating a community of a sort, or a place where your clients know that they can go to get answers or feel a connection or just feel seen, heard, and understood, you can also talk about your offer and share the testimonials and maybe the steps or the process that you've created that helps them get from where they're at to where they want to go. And it seems silly, or it seems so simple, and that's because it is. But so often people just fail to discuss the fact that they have something that can help. So talk about your offer and be shameless about it, Just talking about it doesn't make you someone who's pushing it on everyone. It's just someone who's really excited and in love with something that they've created that they know can help other people. And the world, I've said this many times, the world needs more money coaches. The world desperately needs more financial literacy, more financial understanding, more coaching and behavioral change when it comes to money. And that's what money coaches provide. But if we don't know that you're a money coach, and if we don't know that you have something to offer, then how are you going to change their lives? So be shameless about it, because what you have is important. So those are the 5 hacks. I think maybe they sound simple, and in a way they are, but when it comes to actually implementing them, I think that's where a lot of us can get tripped up. And so I just want you to remember that it does get to be simple. But you have to show up, and you have to overcome any of those internal things that might be holding you back, right? Talking about your offer, reaching out to your ideal clients, creating content that you know is going to potentially alienate some people or repel some people, but then heavily attract the people that you know you can help. That's what's going to make the difference. So that's what I have for you. Don't forget, when you start doing these, when you start implementing these hacks, you're also going to start getting clients asking about your program, asking about what you have to offer, wanting to know how they can work with you, and wanting to know how much does it cost. And if you don't know the answer to that, then how are you going to move forward? So get your hands on the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook by going to wanderwealthy.com/workbook. And if you're looking for guidance, if you're looking for accountability and support, then the Wealthy Coach Blueprint is going to be the best next step for you to take in building your coaching business. Of course, after you download the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook, but I digress. You can get on the waitlist for our next enrollment period, which will be happening on the cusp of 2021 near the end of this year. Head to wanderwealthy.com/apply and you can sign up for the waitlist and then fill the time with the workbook. And if you want, always feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Tess_Wicks. My DMs are always open. I love to connect with you. I want to know if you're listening to this episode and if you're implementing these hacks and getting people interested in what you have to offer, then I want to know all about it. So hit me up, send me a message. Like I said, love to hear from you. And that is it. If you want to get at this week's podcast episode show notes, head to wanderwealthypodcast.com/podcast/episode 185. And until next week, I hope you wander wealthy.